No one tells you how strange this part of life feels. You've built everything, done everything right, and yet something's off. Not broken, just missing. These 7 motorcycles won't fix your life, but they'll remind you can still be young. Watch until the end of the countdown, because number 1 proves you can ride toward freedom at any age. Number 7, Harley-Davidson Fat Boy. There's a reason this one never fades from memory. The Fat Boy doesn't whisper, it rumbles. Low, proud, and unmistakably American. It runs the Milwaukee 8 114 engine, displacing 1,868 cubic centimeters and producing 102 horsepower and 119 pound-feet of torque. Braking is managed by disc brakes front and rear with a full anti-lock braking system. Suspension features a dual bending valve front fork and a hidden rear monoshock with hand-adjustable preload. Wet weight lands at 714 pounds with a seat height of 25.9 inches. Starting price is $21,999. This motorcycle is all muscle and presence. The kind of presence that doesn't come from bright colors or gadgets, but from stance. The solid front wheel, the fat rear tire, and the broad handlebars give it a silhouette that feels carved from memory. There's no mistaking a Fat Boy in traffic, on a driveway, or even parked quietly at a roadside diner. It doesn't demand attention, it draws it. And yet, behind that intimidating look is something that surprises older riders every time. Comfort. The Fat Boy's wide seat feels like it was designed for real miles. The ergonomics let you ride with a relaxed posture that never punishes your back or shoulders. The floorboards are right where you need them. The torque is accessible, strong, and smooth, enough to roll through a small town in 3rd gear without a hiccup. It's not trying to win races, it's trying to own the road. There's a calmness to the way it rides. You don't feel rushed, you don't feel cramped, you just feel planted, confident. The engine doesn't scream, it thunders, a kind of deep, rhythmic pulse that settles into your bones and reminds you why you ride in the first place. Not to escape, not to impress, but to reconnect with something real. This bike is perfect for the rider who remembers when chrome meant something, who wants to feel the road but doesn't want to suffer from it, who's had the sport bikes, the projects, the other phases, and is ready for something that simply works. No drama, no chasing, just grip the bars, take a breath, and roll forward like you've got nowhere to be and nothing to prove. The Fat Boy may be iconic, but it's not stuck in the past. The latest versions come with all the quiet modern upgrades, LED lighting, improved braking, and Harley's refined power delivery system that reduces vibration without muting the experience. It's still raw, still loud, still heavy in all the right ways, but now it's refined just enough to feel like a reward instead of a test. For men in midlife, this isn't a crisis purchase, it's a confirmation. A statement that says, I still ride, I still feel, and I still know what matters. There's nothing flimsy here, nothing temporary. Just steel, rubber, leather, and legacy. It doesn't want to be the fastest. It wants to be the last one standing. And if that sounds like you, then maybe it's time you finally brought one home. The next machine in this lineup speaks the same truth, but through the lens of Italian precision. Still, not every rider in crisis turns to chaos. Some men want a different kind of statement, one that is quieter, cooler, and more calculated. The next bike on this list proves that beauty alone can be just as dangerous. Tell us in the comments what you ride and where you take it. We're always excited to hear your stories. And if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Number 6. Moto Guzzi 5 100 Mandello. Some motorcycles don't just reflect who you are, they anticipate who you're becoming. The Mandello doesn't beg for your attention. It earns it over time. It runs a 90-degree transverse V-twin engine displacing 1,042 cubic centimeters, delivering 115 horsepower and 77 pound-feet of torque. Braking is managed by dual front discs with Brembo radial calipers and a single rear disc, all supported by a cornering anti-lock braking system. Suspension includes semi-active Öhlins units on the premium version or fully adjustable Kayaba forks and shocks on the standard model. Wet weight is 519 pounds with a seat height of 32 inches. Starting price is $15,490. What sets this machine apart isn't just the Italian bloodline, it's the balance of elegance, logic, and just enough rebellion to remind you that getting older doesn't mean getting dull. It's the first motorcycle in the world to feature active aerodynamics. At speed, 2 subtle deflectors deflectors near the tank adjust automatically to reduce wind fatigue on the rider's chest and shoulders. Combined with an adjustable windscreen, heated grips, cruise control, and customizable ride modes, this motorcycle feels less like a machine and more like an ally. But even with all that technology, the Mandello stays grounded. The heartbeat of its V-twin resonates through the frame with a kind of confidence that only Moto Guzzi delivers. There's a sound to it, a low, intelligent growl that speaks to a rider who's lived through trends, accidents, noise, and knows exactly what they want now. Something deliberate. Every shift clicks with mechanical clarity. Every turn feels natural, not forced. The chassis is planted, the ride refined, and the posture encourages comfort without ever veering into laziness. You won't find cartoonish paint jobs or oversized exhaust tips here. What you will find is a sculpted tank, a minimalist tail section, and a single-sided swing arm that exposes a rear wheel designed for admiration. Riders who park this bike don't walk away from it without one more glance. There's a kind of pride in owning something that doesn't try too hard, something that feels earned, tasteful, functional, and built for real-world roads, not fantasy racetracks. The Mandello is especially appealing to riders who want something fresh, but not unfamiliar, something that blends tradition with precision. It's ideal for those entering a new phase of life, not with hesitation, but with clarity. There's no need to relive your 20s when you can ride with the knowledge and confidence that comes from experience. This bike doesn't try to erase the years, it honors them. And then there's the way it treats you. Like a rider, not a passenger. The seating triangle feels natural, the bars fall right where they should, and the controls are intuitive. Whether you're carving up a hillside or rolling through a quiet town, the Mandello feels steady, responsive, and above all, welcoming. It doesn't punish your wrists, strain your back, or leave you stiff after a few hours. It's the kind of ride you finish with a clear head and no regrets. There's a quiet brilliance to this machine. It's not trying to outshine the competition. It's playing a different game altogether. It doesn't ride for attention. It rides for connection, to the road, to your breath, to whatever's next in your life. And the next bike on this list might just be the most comfortable rejection of midlife ever built. Need solid gear without the showroom markup? Our favorite picks are right below. Grab what fits your ride. Number 5. Honda Goldwing Tour. At some point, every man stops chasing thrills and starts chasing comfort, but that doesn't mean giving up the ride. For the rider who's put in the miles, worn out the sport bikes, and seen the bottom of enough saddlebags to know better, the Goldwing Tour makes perfect sense. It delivers 126 horsepower from an 1,833 cubic centimeter flat 6 engine, along with 125 pound-feet of torque. Braking is handled by dual front rotors with 6-piston calipers and a single rear disc, all supported by a full anti-lock braking system. Suspension includes a double wishbone front system and a Pro-Link single-shock rear setup. Wet weight comes in at 879 pounds with a seat height of 29.3 inches. Starting price is $28,400. The Goldwing isn't bought to impress anyone under 30. It's the kind of motorcycle you grow into. Once the aching knees, the sore back, and the long-haul mindset settle into your bones. It doesn't ask you to lean far, twist hard, or fold your legs into origami. What it offers instead is a ride experience that's closer to piloting a private jet than riding a bike. Everything is engineered for peace of mind. Throttle by wire, electronic preload settings, heated grips, heated seats, and a reverse gear that makes parking as easy as relaxing into a recliner. This is the motorcycle version of a full-body massage chair. The infotainment system is more advanced than what most cars had just a few years ago. Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth navigation, surround sound, yes, surround sound, are all built into the dash. There's enough room in the trunk and saddlebags for a weekend getaway with your partner, and still space for snacks, maps, and a rain suit you probably won't use. Goldwing owners don't pack light, they pack smart. They've done the trips, the rallies, the cross-country slogs, and they know exactly what matters on a long ride, staying warm, dry, and entertained. But the Goldwing is more than just comfort. Underneath all that plush plush luxury is a surprisingly nimble machine. That front suspension keeps the front wheel rock solid over bumps and lets you push through curves with a kind of elegance that belies its bulk. It's not slow, it's just deliberate, and it feels entirely unbothered by what other riders think. This is a motorcycle built for confidence, for planning, and for the kind of rider who knows he has nothing left to prove. What makes the Gold Wing the perfect midlife bike isn't just its comfort, it's the mindset it represents. You've already owned the loud bikes, the fast bikes, the dangerous bikes. Now you want one that treats your body with respect, one that lets you ride for hours without a chiropractor on standby, and one that makes your partner actually want to come along for the ride. Midlife isn't about proving you still got it. It's about redefining what it even means. The Gold Wing answers that question with quiet confidence, soft seats, and enough horsepower to pull away from traffic without ever breaking a sweat. Still, for some men, comfort isn't quite enough. Sometimes what they crave most is not convenience, but presence. And the next motorcycle delivers that in full, with chrome, torque, and old-school American thunder. Number 4. Harley-Davidson Street Glide Special. There's a moment in every man's life when he looks in the mirror and realizes something is missing. Not a career, not a purpose, but a feeling. Something loud, heavy, unapologetically American. That's where the Street Glide Special rolls in, like a slow-moving freight train of nostalgia, pride, and pure torque. It runs a Milwaukee 8 114 engine, which displaces an 1,868 cubic centimeters and puts out 105 horsepower and 126 pound-feet of torque. Braking is managed by dual front discs and a rear disc, supported by a reflex-linked Brembo braking system with full anti-lock capability. The suspension includes a dual bending valve front fork and emulsion rear shocks with hand-adjustable preload. Wet weight lands at 826 pounds with a seat height of 26.1 inches. Starting price is $28,099. The Street Glide isn't about agility, technology, or chasing lap times. It's about posture, physical and emotional. Sit back, stretch out, and let the low rumble of that big V-twin engine remind you of a time when rebellion wasn't ironic and chrome still meant something. The fairing is iconic. The stance is authoritative. It doesn't whisper performance stats, it growls identity. This isn't about beating the sport bikes, it's about letting them know you were never playing the same game. Riding one is like donning a leather vest with patches you didn't earn, but somehow feel entitled to. The Bluetooth system lets you blast classic rock while cruising toward nowhere in particular, and the saddlebags have more space than most gym lockers. But the Street Glide isn't practical, it's personal. It says something without needing to be fast or efficient. It says you've lived long enough to know exactly what kind of rider you are, and you don't care who knows it. This bike is often bought by men who've done the sports car thing, realized it didn't scratch the itch, and came crawling back to something real. It's not a machine, it's a persona, one built around long roads, roadside diners, and the hum of tires on sun-beaten pavement. You ride it not to get away, but to get back to something. A version of yourself that used to grin at danger and never skipped a chance to ride just because the sky looked questionable. There's a reason you'll find so many of these parked outside biker bars, cigar shops, and family-owned diners across the country. It's the motorcycle equivalent of a handshake that lasts a second too long. A firm nod to another guy wearing wraparound sunglasses and New Balance shoes. Street Glide owners know the feeling of riding in formation, of throwing a leg over a bike that weighs as much as a piano and still making it feel like part of you. This isn't an escape, it's an announcement. For all the tech packed into it, the infotainment system, the navigation, the customizable ride modes, it still feels analog in the best way. It vibrates, it pulls, it lumbers, and that's exactly what its owners love. It's an unfiltered experience wrapped in modern reliability. You ride it to remember, and sometimes to forget. Of course, not every rider seeks comfort or heritage. Some are chasing something bigger, literally. And the next bike on this list is nothing short of monstrous, both in size and in the statement it makes. Number 3. Triumph Rocket 3R. There are motorcycles that make a statement, and then there's the Rocket 3R. This machine doesn't just whisper confidence or suggest rebellion, it yells it with every twist of the throttle. It is not a compromise. It is not subtle, and it is absolutely not for the faint of heart. Power comes from a 2,500 cubic centimeter inline 3-cylinder engine, which produces an astonishing 167 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torquey braking, is managed by dual front Brembo Stylema monoblock calipers with large floating discs and a single rear disc, all supported by a full cornering anti-lock braking system. The suspension system includes fully adjustable Showa front forks and a rear monoshock with remote preload adjustment. Dry weight comes in at 643 pounds with a seat height of 29.5 inches. Starting price is $23,995. You do not buy this motorcycle because it makes sense. You buy it because somewhere between your cholesterol meds and ergonomic desk chair, you realized you need to do something that feels completely irrational. The Rocket is that irrational thing, but somehow it works. One look at this beast and you know it was built not for daily errands or quiet weekend getaways, but for shattering illusions of restraint. It is the kind of bike you buy when you skip the sports car phase entirely and go straight to the mechanical equivalent of shouting into the void. The Rocket 3R doesn't accelerate, it detonates. Crack the throttle and the world seems to shift around you. The torque comes on like a freight train, steady and relentless, but smooth enough to feel like you're being launched rather than jolted. Despite its size, the handling is surprisingly poised. It leans with grace, thanks to its low center of gravity and smart engineering, but make no mistake, this is a heavy, long machine. You don't flick it through curves, you guide it with authority. Visually, it's a masterpiece of muscle and engineering. The exhaust curl and twist like a chrome sculpture. The rear wheel is exposed, sitting underneath a minimalist frame and a low-slung saddle that looks like it belongs on a drag strip. Every surface, every bolt is designed to reinforce one idea: power. And not just any power, power that doesn't apologize. Riding the Rocket 3R is less about proving something to others and more about reminding yourself that you're still alive, still bold, still capable of choosing the absurd over the expected. And that's what makes it a perfect midlife crisis bike. Because sometimes the answer to feeling stuck isn't therapy or a new hobby, it's doing something so wild, so outsized, that it resets your system. The Rocket delivers that reset with brute force, wrapped in British charm. It's ridiculous in the best possible way. It looks like a custom build and rides like a factory masterpiece. Triumph didn't just make a big bike, they made a bold one. And that boldness is contagious. There's no pretending with this bike, no subtlety, no playing it safe. When you pull up on a Rocket, you're making a declaration that you're still here, still chasing something, even if that something is just a louder, faster version of your old self. And for those who still want to feel the fire, but with a little more style and a lot more drama, our next pick takes Italian intensity to another level. Number 2. Ducati Diavel V4. Some motorcycles whisper rebellion, others growl, but the Diavel V4, it screams. This isn't just a machine, it's a declaration from a man who refuses to go quietly into middle age. This is the motorcycle for the guy who poured a glass of bourbon, binge-watched old action movies, and bought a leather jacket at 2 a.m. while looking at photos of his younger self. It delivers 168 horsepower from an 1,158 cubic centimeter V4 engine with 93 pound-feet of torque that hits hard in every gear. Braking is handled by dual front Brembo Stylema monoblock calipers with massive rotors and a rear disc, all governed by a cornering anti-lock braking system. Suspension duties are managed by a fully adjustable inverted fork up front and a monoshock at the rear. Dry weight stands at 464 pounds with a seat height of 31.1 inches. Starting price is $26,995. This is not a cruiser. It only looks like one to fool your wife. In truth, the Diavel is Ducati's unapologetic middle finger to the idea that cruisers should be slow, heavy, and tame. It combines muscle bike aggression with Italian performance engineering and wraps it in bodywork that looks like it came from a cyberpunk graphic novel. With its sculpted tank, massive rear tire, and forward controls, it dares anyone to question your choices. This is what happens when Ducati's designers drink espresso, look at a Harley and say, "We can make it meaner." Twist the throttle and the Diavel responds like a bottle rocket taped to a brick. It launches. It howls. It makes you forget about your mortgage, your boss, your cholesterol. Every ride is a reminder that fun isn't dead. It's just been waiting for you to let go of your pride. You don't buy the Diavel to impress the kids at the coffee shop. You buy it because you've accepted that you're not 20 anymore and you want a machine that's mature enough to perform but wild enough to make you laugh again. The riding posture is aggressive but comfortable. The electronics package includes everything from wheelie control to multiple ride modes, cornering traction management, and adaptive cruise control. It's a technological marvel, but it hides that fact behind raw attitude and a whole lot of throttle. You're not going to get touring bike comfort or gold wing refinement here. What you'll get is adrenaline, noise, and the kind of power that makes you question your own good judgment. For many, this is the rebound bike. The one you get after selling the practical machine that never stirred your soul. It's not here to calm you down, it's here to wake you up. It's the late night text to your better judgment. The bad idea you're going to do anyway. And deep down, you know that's exactly what makes it the right one. The Diavel is not about nostalgia, it's about ignition. It doesn't care how old you are, how gray your beard is, or whether your knees ache after a ride. It only cares that you twist that throttle like you mean it, that you still want more, that you're not done chasing the rush no matter what the calendar says. The next machine is exactly that, and it takes our #1 spot for a reason. Are you feeling the urge to ride with a bit more freedom and style? Drop a comment below telling us which of these motorcycles speaks to you the most, and don't forget to like and subscribe. There's more coming your way that might just inspire your next purchase. Number 1. BMW R 1250 GS Adventure. There comes a time when every man wants to break free, but only within reason. That's exactly where the R1250G's Adventure fits. It is the motorcycle of choice for the rider who still has a mortgage, a spine that complains in the morning, and a calendar full of responsibilities, but refuses to let go of the dream. Beneath its rugged shell is a 1,254 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled boxer twin engine delivering 136 horsepower and 105 pound-feet of torque. Braking is handled by dual-front 4-piston calipers with large discs paired with a single rear disc, all supported by a full cornering anti-lock braking system. Suspension features a front telelever system and a rear paralever setup with dynamic electronic adjustment. Wet weight tips the scale at 603 pounds, with a seat height adjustable between 34.3 and 35 inches. Starting price is $22,795. This is the motorcycle that lets you feel wild and untamed while still packing cruise control, heated grips, hill start assist, and a full-color 12.3-inch display screen that makes your car's dashboard look prehistoric. The Adventure doesn't scream for attention. It calmly announces that you've made it in life, but you still want to see what's out there. And sure, you'll probably never ride across Bolivia's death road, but you'll think about it every time you fill up that massive 7.9-gallon tank. The GS is a paradox on two wheels. It's enormous, high-tech, and intimidating to some, yet somehow universally respected. When you park it outside a brewery in your Patagonia vest, other dads nod silently in appreciation. It says, "I pay my taxes, I mow my lawn, but I could absolutely disappear into the desert for 3 months if I had to." And in some ways, that fantasy alone is worth the price of admission. From a rider's perspective, it offers one of the most forgiving experiences available for such a large machine. The telelever front suspension eliminates dive under braking, while the rear system adapts to terrain and load without complaint. Whether you're cruising on the freeway, standing on the pegs off-road, or just navigating a gravel driveway with your confidence at half-mast, it stays composed. It is the motorcycle equivalent of a seasoned guide who's seen it all and isn't easily shaken. The seat is all-day comfortable, the wind protection is excellent, and the ergonomics are designed for long hauls, not cafe hopping. Add in optional panniers, GPS navigation, adaptive ride modes, and a hill descent system, and you have a machine built not just to impress, but to endure. It doesn't pretend to be lightweight or simple. It embraces its complexity because it knows its audience. Experienced riders who have done their time on sport bikes and cruisers and now want something that matches their sense of maturity with a dose of rebellion. You won't see many G's Adventure owners doing burnouts or high-speed runs down the interstate. What you will see is quiet confidence. You'll see carefully planned trips, heavily stickered panniers, panniers, and eyes that scan the horizon like the next ride could change everything. The GS doesn't ask for attention, it earns it. And for those in midlife, it represents a kind of responsible escape, one that you can explain to your spouse and still feel good about every time you throw a leg over the saddle. From raw power to ultimate comfort, we've covered bikes that offer more than just a ride. They provide a statement. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment. Which of these motorcycles could be the one to ignite your midlife ride?